Good morning, everybody. Some of you probably already know me, but I will introduce myself. My name is Wendy Akomolafe Kalu, or Yewande. Anyone is fine. I lead the storytelling and branding team. Welcome to our Grow My Business webinar, which is a workshop that we do for business owners where we talk about different aspects of growing your business from finance, marketing, getting visibility, getting probably even getting access to funding, tech, everything that you need to be able to grow your business. We have discussed and we'll probably discuss in this coming year. Today is a very special service. I say service. Oh my gosh. Today is a very special session. Today we have the head of finance for Africa for Flutterwave. His name is Israel Koledowo. He has extensive experience in finance, and he'll be talking to us about managing your finances as a growing business today. So it's a very awesome session. It's going to be very practical, and we'll be speaking to as many use cases as possible and sharing practical tips as well. Yeah, so I'm going to go over the house rules before I hand over to Israel so that he can host his session. The chat function that you guys have used to let me know that you could hear me, you can use that to answer speakers' requests. You can send messages to other attendees, but we have a Q&A section as well, which is where we'll be checking for any questions that you have that we want to answer. So the agenda, the way we're going to do this is Israel's session is going to be first, talking about managing your finances as a growing business. And then the next session after that is the session that my colleague Adejumor is going to be hosting, talking you through everything that Flutterwave has available for you as a small business. And then we'll go into the Q&A section, which is where, you can send your questions in the Q&A section as they come to you, so you don't forget, but we'll come to answer the questions after Adejumo's session. So that's pretty much it. If we don't get to your question, please know that you can ask us questions. You can send us an email, hi@flutterwave.com, or you can send us a DM on Twitter, FLW support. So those are the two ways that you can reach us. But that's pretty much it. Those are all the house rules. Hi, Israel. We're ready for you.
My name is Israel Koledowo. I'm the head of finance for Africa at Flutterwave. Prior to joining Flutterwave, I was with KPMG for almost a decade, and also with Anderson as well for a few years. In both firms, I worked on accounting services, audit support services, tax and transfer pricing. So the whole finance range, and at some point I got in touch with the leadership of Flutterwave, one to learn to another. Yeah, I am today. So, and just to put that there, I'll make the presentation as short as possible so that we can have enough time for Q&A, because for me, that's really the art of it. If we can have enough time to ask questions, if you have specific questions that you want us to address, we'll try and address them here. Once we can't address now, we'll definitely find a way to get back to you. So back to our story, managing finances in a growing business. And again, just to put it out there, this is like a one-on-one course. So it's going to be very basic and like a starter course. In other sessions that we'll be having in the future, we would handle more advanced topics. Yeah, this is just to lay the foundation, for what the basic things we need to know as business owners, and what we should watch out for generally. All right, so these are the points we'll go over. There's no point for us to do company review. Almost everyone here already knows about Flutterwave. So we'll go straight into financial management. What really is financial management? How does it apply to a growing business? What's really the definition of small? Is your business a small business? And what has the impact of small businesses been across the world? What is the data available on small business? so that you can prepare your mindset on how you should carry on your business. Because sometimes what we've noticed uh, from my few years of advising businesses is that there is that tendency to want to give up before the right time. We want people to try a business for a year or two and it doesn't go the way they think it should go. The natural inclination is to stop it and move to something else. But we'll cover some basic things about why that may not necessarily be the right approach, to handling things. So we'll go over that as well. I will also go over the common threats to small businesses survival across the world, not just in Africa. I know most likely my audience would likely be predominantly African, but again, I also am aware that there are a few people in Europe and the US as well as that are tuned in. So we'll talk about the general threat to small businesses, and then having talked about that, we then look at how can we then ensure that we navigate these threats in the right way, and we manage our finances in the right way to ensure that the business grow the way we want it to grow. Those are the basic things I think we should cover here. If you have other specific things you want us to cover, you can drop them in the chat. We would try as much as possible to go over those. If we can't, definitely we would find a way to get back to you. Right. So yeah. Exactly. What is financial management? As you would see, it's a combination of two words: management and finance. And basically, what it talks about is what it means is the planning and control of financial undertakings in a business. How do you manage your finances? That's basically what financial management is. And it could be as simple as you just knowing your inflows and outflows, and it could go beyond that to you also making plans for the next 2 years, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. It could also cover things like having a short-term cash flow analysis that tells you in the next 6 years, these are the income you expect to earn, and these are the costs you expect to spend on. And if you are not thinking in that line already, it's the point that you are not doing something right. So it's good for us as business owners to have those short-term cash flow plans, so that you don't get to the 4th month and then something hits you by surprise. You've already planned for the 6 months going forward. So it's always good to have all those analyses in place as business owners. And it doesn't have to be something very fancy, It doesn't have to be fancy at all. I'm someone that likes to make things as simple as possible. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something very fancy from Harvard University, just basic things that helps you keep a good view of inflows and outflows, So financial management generally just talks about how you manage your business finances. And it's very good to have this kind of analysis in place for different reasons. Excuse me. Computer. Yeah, it's very good to have this analysis for different reasons, because it's only when you keep proper track of your finances that you know whether you're making a profit or you're making a loss. It's also a good pointer to how the market, how your environment, the market, when you talk about the market, basically the environment where you sell your location or whatever your product gets to, that's your market. It also gives you a pointer to how the market is responding to your product or to your service. For instance, if you live in the highbrow part of town, let's say you live where the middle class lives, there are certain products that will sell well there. There are certain products that will not sell well there. So, let's say you live in the middle class area. you will most likely get people that will buy things that will last them for probably a week or 2 weeks. You will likely not have a market for people that will buy things to last for like 3-4 months, because for that class of society, the plan that they typically make is short-term, medium to short-term plans, you know. So depending on your location, and if you then have a product that doesn't address those short-term to medium-term needs of the people living in that area, your finances will tell you that. I mean, it will clearly tell you that the product you are selling doesn't really meet the targeted audience. And then you can then use that information that you've gotten to determine, okay, how do I then strategize? What are the things I need to do different? You know, do I need to move to another? Do I need to sell to another location? Do I need to look for another market, target markets to service? You know, those are the kind of things that keeping proper financial records helps you to do. Another thing that helps you to do is to know what price to set for your product. So for instance, let's say with most small businesses or with most growing businesses, there are many other people rendering that service as well. So you need to find that strategy that will enable you gain more of the market share. And one of the biggest way to do that is to have a very market-friendly pricing strategy. So if your competition, for instance, are selling at maybe 100 naira, for instance, you might want to look at how do I run more efficiently to ensure that perhaps I'm selling at 98 or at 95. And you'll be surprised how many people, if the quality is, let's assume the quality is the same, you'll be surprised how many people would leave other people and come to your product just because of that reduced price. I have friends, I know people that have specific stores where they buy different things. I mean, they don't enter a store and buy everything there. They have things there that they buy because they've done that price strategy. And if you ask them, sometimes it could be 1,000 naira difference. It could be 2,000 naira. Sometimes it could be 500 naira difference. But because of the volume they buy, it makes a lot of sense for them to not buy in the particular store and look for another store. Excuse me, please. And look for another store to buy from. Sorry, just excuse me. Yeah. So it's when you look at excuse me, I just want to put my phone on silent so I don't. Yeah, it's when you keep proper records of your finances that you're able to determine. It helps you determine what right price to set for your product. You know. Last thing I want to talk about on this slide is keeping proper financial records also helps when you want to go talk to financiers, banks, you know, maybe families and friends, for instance, to help you with a loan or some form of capital for your business. You know, the issue that many small business owners have is when you go to meet a bank officer for a facility, the story you are telling them, they've heard it 1,000,001 times already. For you, that project, that business has a fantastic viability. It's good. It's going to sell and all that. But that enthusiasm, that product, the banks have heard it 1,000,000 times before. So you need to tell them something very specific that will make them really see through the words you are saying and see into the numbers. Because for the bank, it's all for people that typically give loans. It's all about the numbers. If the numbers don't add up for them, they're not going to part with their money, you know, because it's a risk that they are taking. So it's like, for instance, it's like you going to the hospital, you know, and you take the doctor, I think I'm having headaches, I'm having constant headaches. And the doctor just looks at you and he just says, from just looking at you, I think we need to take a look at your feet. and do surgery on your feet. Almost everybody on this session would walk out of that hospital immediately, because what he's saying doesn't add up to what you are feeling. So because of the experience of those bank officers, they know already from what you are saying whether it makes sense to them or not. So you need to have a backup for whatever story you are telling the banks, and that backup must add up to the story. You can't be pushing for a product that the banks know that it will take like 3 to 4 years for you to break even, and you're telling them like in 2 years or in a year you're going to make profits. They can see through all that. So the backup, the financial analysis you have must add up to the story you are telling the people you want to ask for loan from. So these are the kind of things that we think you should bear in mind, as business owners. Financial management is very good. Just to recap, it's very good because it helps you get a full view of how your business's health. It helps you determine whether you are making a profit, whether the business is moving in the right direction or not, because you can clearly see what your profits are, what the loss are. It helps you determine what right pricing mechanism to adopt, and also helps you get your story straight when you're talking to financiers. So let's then go to small businesses. By definition, a small business is typically sole proprietorship, partnership, small corporations, and have very few employees and less annual turnover than the big enterprises. So most of the people that are on this call typically run a small business, and it will amaze you what impact small businesses, not just in Africa, all over the world, what impact small businesses have on the economy. In more developed parts of the world, small businesses account for at least 70% annual, 70% of gross domestic products. That means whatever product or service is being rendered, whatever products are being produced in that country, whatever services are being rendered in that country, small businesses account for 70% of that every year. I mean, it's mind-blowing because typically people will look at the likes of Facebook, the likes of Amazon, maybe coming down to Africa, the likes of Dangote, they are the ones that shake the economy. Actually, it's the combination of the small businesses. In Nigeria, for instance, the available data says small businesses account for 60% of the economy. So if you take out small business away from the economy, Nigeria cannot survive. So that tells you that the business you are doing, the country depends on it. The country actually depends on it. It's just for us to find the right way to channel that business in a way that it reaches the right audience at the right pricing, and then we have a plan to support that as well. All over the world, small businesses are a very important part of the economy. The good thing is that with the technological advancement that we have right now, it's easier to carry on to sell your products. It's easier to market your products. For instance, as you're just about to start this session, I saw someone already advertising their business already. I mean, I don't know if that's allowed there, but at least because of technology, you're able to easily put out your message out there to people that may or may not be interested. So with that technological advancement that we have right now, it's easier to carry on our businesses. One thing that 2020 taught us, if it didn't teach us anything else, one thing that it really taught us is that businesses can run to a large extent remotely, especially if it's service business. You don't need to have a physical building, you don't need to necessarily every time have physical interactions with people to be able to sell your product. If you have goods and services that you're selling, I mean, you can do that remotely. 2020 gave back to a lot of e-commerce business, I mean, we even think that if I break it down to what we do at Flutterwave, because we are also a growing business, in some way. you would think that because of the pandemic, we have less transaction flow through infrastructure. Actually, we experience the reverse. We experience more transactions flowing through infrastructure because people were forced to do what they weren't doing before. That is to sell remotely. So, advance of technology, has made it easier for you to sell your product, which is the point I wanted to, I'm trying to pass across, that you don't necessarily have to see the pandemic as something bad. Of course, in some ways it's bad, but the good thing is that it is rechanneling the way people think about how to carry on their businesses. And despite what I've said earlier about the impact that small businesses have on the economy, how important it is, for either in the developed markets or in developing markets like we have in Africa, small businesses all over the world have critical issues all over the world, not just in Africa, all over the world. One of them, one of those issues that small businesses have is management overlap and succession plan. So let me break that down. What that means is that lack of proper management style, typically leads to the death of small businesses. And when we say management style, financial management is a big part of that. Because small business owners are not able to manage their finances very well, by the end of a 12 months, most times in this part of the world, the business is about dying or is already dead because people are not able to manage their finances well. Sometimes as well, it's because we don't have access to proper support, proper advice on how to carry on our businesses. You know, it also leads to a stagnation or death of small businesses all over the world. A typical example, this is very, very typical from my experience advising business owners all over the world. If you are not able, if you have a business right now, if you run a business and you are not on a salary, I know it sounds strange, but if you run your business and you've not put yourself on a salary, that's a very high risk pointer that you are doing something wrong. The inability to separate our capital from our profits makes small businesses very, very prone to mismanagement. Because number one, you first need to know how much you've injected into that business. And for whatever reason, that cannot be touched except to grow the business. If you are dipping into your capital to spend on expenses that is not bringing money back, what you're just doing is you're just shortening the lifespan of that business gradually. And there could be genuine reasons why at some point you may need to touch the capital. There's some family emergency, there's a friend that needs something, there is this, there is that. Genuine reasons why you feel the need to touch that capital. But just bear in mind, as you are touching that capital, you are shortening the lifespan of your business. And as a matter of fact as well, if you're also not separating the profit from your capital, how do you then know when you finish spending all your profits? You need to have a proper way of accounting for how much you've injected into the business, how much profits you've made, and also from the profits you're making, put yourself on some form of salary. Put yourself on some form of salary. The salary could also be, I mean, if you look at maybe your 6-month plan or your 12-month plan, whatever your capital covers, your salary the plan for your salary should also be inside that capital as well, actually, not just from your profit alone, because you definitely need to live by something. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you need to be able to separate yourself from the business. Of course, it's your business, you can run it the way you like, but if you want that business to thrive, you need to be able to separate yourself from the business and put yourself on a salary. It's fixed amount per month and be disciplined to stay with that. That is the major cause of businesses there all over the world. And I'm saying this not just from an African perspective, all over the world. There have been plenty of researches about this, why businesses don't survive within the first year or within the first 5 years. Financial management is a big part of that. So we need to be aware of that. In fact, if you look at, based on Family Firm Institute, what, according to their own research, 30% of family businesses survive into the second generation, 12% make to the third generation. And this is in more developed part of the world. In Africa, the story is far worse. Businesses don't even survive the first 12 months. And financial management is a big part of that. It's a very, very big part of that. In the next slide, we'll be going over some other key issues that affect small businesses, why small businesses don't survive. You know, the first one I mentioned in the previous slide was poor management practices, which is being able to separate yourself from the business. And you know, that is the mindset of the regulators when it comes to big corporations, because they know that the managers of big corporations, the owners of corporations, they can't afford to let them run their business anyhow because of the size of their share market size. So there are laws that are put in place all over the world that then controls how the owners of the business, how the managers of the business are totally separated from the businesses. There's something they call entity concept. What entity concept means for large businesses, for incorporated businesses, is that even though you are the owner of the business, once you incorporate a business with the Corporate Affairs Commission or the corporate registry, whatever country that you live in, you are essentially seen as a separate person from that business. It's still your business, but from the eye of the law, that business is seen as separate from you. And there are certain things you can do, certain things you can't do with that. It's that same mindset, because that is where small businesses should think of growing to. You should be able to think of growing to a point where you are big enough that you are able to incorporate your business. You are able to run in line with the principles set out by these regulators, because those laws are set there in the best interest of the business. So if you're able to separate yourself from the business and know how much capital you've injected, put yourself on salary, you know, these are very basic ways in which we can manage this. But again, back to the point, poor management practices is a very big risk for small businesses. Not being able to separate yourself from the business, separate your money from the business. Another one is sentimental employment policies. You know, most times it's either family or friends that we employ, you know, to help you do one or two things. And it might not be in the best interest of the company. In fact, if you think about it, if you ask a family member as part of your business, and you can see clearly that that family member is not acting in the best interest of the company, how easy would it be for you to go and face someone that you've lived it your entire life to see that they need to move out? They need to stop working with you. For this particular reason, many enterprises have policies in place to ensure that people at the C level, at the management level, cannot have their family members or cannot have relatives working with them in the same unit. Sometimes it can be even as strict as they can't even work in the same company. It's because they want to avoid issues like this, where you can't really correct someone, or you can't really say you've done something wrong, or because of your emotions, you can't then let them go when it is clearly in the best interest of the company to let them go. So sentimental employment policies also lead to the death of small businesses. Next one, obviously, is financing. Not being able to get enough finances, enough funds to run the business very well, or sometimes not even managing the funds very well. You know, it's also a very big risk. Another thing that affects small businesses is lack of projections. And by projection, what I mean is, have you really sat down to think through in the next, let's even leave 5 years, the next 6 months, the next 12 months, what will this business need to survive? how much do I need to have to really run this business? Let's assume I don't make any profit in the next 6 months. Do I have enough capital to still carry on doing this business? In the next 12 months, do I still have enough capital to run this business? Because mind you, experts will tell you that for an average business, there are outliers, there are exceptions, but for an average business, it takes a minimum of 5 good years before you break even. Break even, not even making profits. For you to have a steady flow of income that covers your costs, experts say it typically takes 5 years to do that. After 5 years, you can then start talking about profits. Like I said, there could be other businesses where there are exceptions, but for an average business, that is the general rule. Do you have a plan in place for 6 months, for 12 months, let's even do 5 years? For 12 months, you say, does my capital cover would my capital cover my expenses for the next 6 months, for the next 12 months? If you don't have that in place, that's the great pointer that business may not survive. Because what would then happen is in the 7th month, in the 8th month, you just find out suddenly that you don't have enough funds to run the business anymore, and you're not bringing in as much as you thought you would bring in. So lack of projection, lack of planning to the future also affects small businesses. The last thing I want to talk about here is the marketing needs as well. And talking about the marketing needs, what I mean here, do you know how best to sell your products? Do you even know what the product you want to sell? Do you even know whether the people you want to sell it to, whether they need it? How much research have you done, to determine that the person you want to sell the product to really needs the product, or the location you are going to sell the product, that product is really needed there? Have you done that kind of research? No. And it is when you take a step back and do some research on the internet, talk to business people that can give you some guidance, read enough, and thankfully because of technology as well, there are millions of materials online that you can get to give you a sense of whether you are targeting the right audience, for your product. You can't be living in Ikoyi, for instance. Ikoyi, for those that don't live in Nigeria, Ikoyi is like a very tush part of Lagos State. You can't be living in a very tush part of town and be selling products that people will need to come and be buying every day. People that live in Ikoyi don't go to market every day. Probably go to market once in every 3 months or once in every 6 months. So your product should be able to attend to that as well. And also, if you need to be to a large extent dimension what the market needs. You can have a very fantastic product, very good product, but if you don't have the right market for it, that product will not sell. So you need to be sure that you are addressing the right market. You need to be sure that the product you are selling or the services you are offering speaks to that market. And the good thing is, because Africa generally is still a developing continent, there are a lot of things that still needs to be done. There are a lot of things that still needs to be done. There are a lot of things that can be sold. There are a lot of marketed services that can be rendered that would generate money. Someone started for people that are not even in Africa, someone started the pure water business, putting water in sachets and then sell it in traffic. Someone started it because that person sat down to think through, okay, people sit a lot of time in traffic. They may not be able to afford bottled waters. Let me give them something smaller that they can buy and still satisfy them. Someone started that business. One thing that is common where I live right now, one thing that is common is people that are able to offer fumigation services, like cleaning the house and cleaning the area and all that. That seems to be, for some, maybe because where I am is also a developing community. People need that service more frequently. So I've seen if you move out, you see a lot of adverts of people posting posters. You can do that. So you need to be to dimension your market to know what really do people need there, and how can I meet that need. If you don't do that, and you have a fantastic product, you have a fantastic service, they will not buy it because that doesn't address their needs. Now, just talking about, now we've come to the key items that we need to bear in mind. A few things that we need to bear in mind if you want to really do well. Let me just, I'm trying to read through people's side. Don't worry, we'll come to your comments very soon. Let me just quickly run through this first. I've seen a lot of questions being put up already. Now, the first few years of any business are very crucial. Whatever management style you build first few years would help you in the long term. To really do well in business, it has to be a conscious effort. It has to be specific. It has to be intentional. Things don't fall in place by themselves. You know, there is this popular saying that the natural order of things is chaos. What that means is that if plan is not put in place, if you are not intentional about your growth, if you're not intentional about the business you do, the natural order for that business to do is not to survive. So we need to put enough effort, we need to put in enough resource, enough time into that business for it to thrive. And again, there are data statistics all over the world that talks about how many businesses are started in a particular year, and many of them make it to the end of that year. In developed countries, you hear things like about 2/3 of the businesses that start in the year survive. In Africa, in developing countries, it's way worse than that. Way worse than 1/3 of the businesses that start at the year making it to the end of that year, just because of the threats that we've mentioned earlier on. How can we then navigate these threats? How do we ensure that we don't fall victim of this popular data? We don't then become another data for business analysts to talk about. This is how you do that. Now, like I said, this is very basic, very rudimentary, but at the same time, these are fundamental steps that business owners need to take if you must see your business survive. The first one here, I've said it before, and this is not something that I came up with. It's years of researches, decades of researches from business advisors that have come up with at least these five steps that you need to take as business owners. The first thing, again, just to repeat myself, is to pay yourself. Excuse me, please. I can't overemphasize that. You need to put yourself on some form of plan, some form of payment plan. It shouldn't be easy for you to dip your hand into the business for personal expenses that doesn't add back to the business. There has to be a plan in place for that. And it has to be deliberate, it has to be intentional, it has to be deliberate, and you have to follow through, you have to be consistent with it. It won't be easy. That's just the honest truth. Because what that means is that you are looking at money and your mind is telling you to have some needs that you think are really important, and you can't touch that money because you've already put a cap on how much you can take on a monthly basis from that business. But that is very essential for the survival of your business. You want to ensure that your business and personal finances are in good shape. And you want to be able to separating yourself from the business. See yourself as an employee of that business and put yourself on a salary. The second point I would like to make is you need to invest in growth. It's not every profit. For businesses that are doing well, you're making profits. It's very good, fantastic. But it's not all that profits that should be spent. A portion of that profit should go back. As a matter of fact, as much as possible of that profit in your first 12 months, in your first 2-3 years, a large portion of your profit should go back into growing that business. That is the only way you will grow, and that is a risk-free capital. It's better than going to ask for a loan from anybody. It's your own profit. It's your money, so you're not paying interest on it. Inject it back as much as possible. For the first 2 to 3 years, inject your profits back into your business. Put yourself on a time plan. The main issue is the main issue is we sometimes look at these big businesses, look at the likes of Dangote or Tedola, and look at their success stories. Look at it now. You don't know what work they've put in for decades before they got to where they are right now. I mean, the people that I mentioned, they've been doing business for at the minimum of 20 years. And it wasn't all rosy for them as well. I mean, there could be other factors that have played into them becoming as big as they are right now. But because of that consistency, because they were disciplined enough to follow through, even the years that they made huge losses, they continued. That helps. Investing in growth, putting back your part of your profit into the growth of the business helps a lot to expand. And what do you need to spend that money on? Same product you are pushing, how can you reach them? If you're selling to just your state, for instance, you're selling to just your city, for instance, how can you push that product to the next city? That is investing in growth. If you are selling to a small portion of your city, how can you ensure that your product reaches a larger part of the city? That is investing in growth. How can you make sure that the product you are selling is fine-tuned in a way that the quality is better and you're able to attract more people? That is investing in growth. Those are the kind of things we need to think about as business owners. Again, these are intentional, deliberate effort we need to make, if we are to see our business survive. The next point I want to make, again, which I've touched on before, is monitor your books. This is one key item that I see from experience many business owners are not able to do consistently. However rudimentary it is, however basic it is, business owners need to keep books of accounts. It might be a simple, this page will serve as all the expenses I'm paying. This next page will serve as all the money that is coming in. It might be as simple as that. But the thing is, if you don't keep that record, you are not able to, the result of your business won't stare you in the face. In your head, you can have an idea of, yeah, this is how much I think I'm making, how much I'm spending. But you need to document, you need to write it down. If you don't write it down and refer to it often, you will not be able to gauge the health of your business. It is when we write down our expenses, however small it is. It can be, okay, today, 12 p.m., I took a cab. The cab cost me 200 naira or cost me this much. Put it down there. You keep daily expenses like that. Your inflows as well, you keep it. At the end of the month, you can then match the two together to see, these are my total inflows. These are my total expenses. Have I made more money that I'm spending, or am I spending more than I'm making? What can I do better? If you then look through the expenses, you can see that perhaps I took too many cabs. Is there a better way for me to, if I want to go and sell my product, is there a better way to do it? Do I need to take cabs? Why not? What if I wait for some for demand to accumulate, and then I send everything through a courier service? There are different ways that information can then do different things that information can then do for you to help you analyze how you are doing, how you can do what you are doing better. You need to keep books. It is very important. And again, if you have the mindset of at some point in time you want to talk to financiers to give you money to run the business, if you don't have proper books of records, if you don't keep this record, it will be difficult to convince them, because you will just be talking vaguely about things, about your businesses, about the profits you made, about the expenses. Most people will want to see a proof. Again, like I said, if you go back to the analogy I made about you going to the hospital to talk to a doctor, you don't want the doctor advising you from his head. You want him to run tests. You want him to take some blood samples. You want him to run X-ray, and from all those things, if he's not telling you, okay, based on what I can see, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. that kind of doctor will put you at rest because you know that he's speaking based on the steps he has taken to find out what the injury is. If you are going to meet people to ask for capital, to ask for loan, and you're talking from your head, they can't see what you are seeing. They need to be able to see this is how much you've made, this is how much you've spent, this is the trend. By trend, I mean what has the experience been over the months or over the years. You need to be able to keep that and refer to it frequently. The next one is setting up good financial habits. You need to have very good financial habits. You need to, and by having good financial habits, it means that you need to be extremely disciplined. Let people call you stingy. It's in the best interest of your business that they call you stingy. As a matter of fact, if you are running a small business and people are not calling you stingy, you might be doing something wrong. Because what is paramount for you at the first 5 years of your business is survival of that business. When the business grows enough that you have enough profits consistently, you can start giving, you can start some philanthropic activities. But before then, be stingy. Even be stingy to yourself as well. That's why I said put yourself on a salary. You need to have good financial habits. It's not everything that you buy. It's not every event that you go to. That's an event you won't go to because the event will cost that. Given African setting, you probably buy cloth for the event. You have to take. Even if you have a car, you have to buy fuel to go to that event and come back. When you go to that event, probably want to give the people doing the event some funds as well. It's not every event you go to as a small business owner. You need to be extremely frugal. You need to be extremely in control of your funds and plan very well what you want to do with that fund. And that leads me to the last point I want to make about planning ahead. I know it may sound strange, but at the very least, let us have plans for the next 6 months. How can we run this business for the next 6 months? Let's assume money is not flowing in. Do you have enough capital to cover the next 6 months? Do you have enough capital to cover the next 12 months? And you need to write it down and document it. You need to. And it's only when you document it and write it down that it stares you in the face and you can then interact with that fact. Do you have enough capital to run? If you don't have enough capital, what do you need to do right now? Do you need to cut down on your expenses? Or do you need to, are there people you can go and meet, family and friends or whoever, to give you some short-term loan? And that loan must go to making money. It must go to expanding your product, because that's the only way you can pay it back. That loan cannot be used for other people's events. It cannot be used to maintain your lifestyle. No. That loan should be used to grow the business, which I said you need to be extremely frugal about the business. And I think I've covered the most part of what I wanted to say. Just as a recap, small businesses play important role. Small businesses play very, very important role in every country's economy, everywhere in the world. However, because of the nature of small businesses, they are prone to certain risks that make it difficult for them to survive beyond the first year of the and we've covered some of these threats, and for you to overcome these threats, there are very simple habits you need to imbibe and be intentional and consistent and deliberate about those habits for you to grow your business, and just to wrap up my session, I would say, if your business is not doing very well, don't lose heart. Most businesses don't start big. And like I said earlier, experts will say it takes 5 years for you to recover your cost. It takes 5 years. So if you are just starting 2-3 years, you are still on the way. Keep at it as much as possible. Keep at it as much as possible. Be consistent. What I've noticed is over time, when you run your business beyond 5 years, either of two things would happen. It's either you have mastered that business so well that you know what your monthly cost is, and you have a sense of what your monthly revenue is. If you are doing the same consistently for 5 years, by then you definitely know what your monthly expense is, what your monthly inflow is. You have a sense of that, and then you'll be able to better pattern or shape the way you want to carry on that business. Second thing that would happen is, in doing the same thing for 5 years, at some point, because it's business, at some point, as I plan to grow a business, there is always a point where a business hits a particular contract or a particular milestone that then projects that business. It may not project you to become the next Amazon, but it projects your business so that your revenue flows higher, And I've seen that play out over and over. Consistency is very key. It's very difficult to put yourself on salary. It's very difficult to be consistent in keeping your books. It's very difficult to put your profits back into your business and not spend it. But if you do these things consistently, I'm very, very certain that your business stands in very, very high chance of surviving and even outliving you as well. There's some other points that I want us to touch on maybe at some other sessions, but for now, these are the basic things I think we need to have in mind to grow our business. Thank you very much for listening to me, and it's been a pleasure as well. Yeah. Wendy.
Thank you so much, Israel. That was fantastic. Very detailed, very practical tips that you shared. I mean, people have been commenting and saying that this is great. You have so many questions. But I do think that we should go into, hi Adejuwon, can we go into your session very quickly? And then we'll come back to the questions. We've seen your questions. And then just to reiterate, yes, this session is being recorded. We will upload it to our YouTube by Wednesday at the latest. So if you don't get the email, maybe it goes into your spam or something, you can just go on our YouTube and check, because we do send out the email, but sometimes it gets lost in people's inboxes. So you can just go on our YouTube and check. It will be uploaded to YouTube and to be live. Okay, let's carry on. Adejuwon, we're ready for you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Israel, for that session. I believe everybody had, a good grasp of of the content you're trying to pass on, and I believe these tips are particularly very important, given the kind of seasons we are in, trying to grow our businesses and all. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adedjuwon, and I'll be taking you through a list of initiatives we at Flutterwave, come up with to help you grow your business, to help you scale, and to do business in better light, regardless of whatever is happening around. We just had a Grow My Business webinar, the one we just had with Israel now. It's our initiative, where we bring in thought leaders, brilliant thought leaders that can share business tips with us, share information on the right tools, materials, access to market, and every other, requirements that we might need to scale and thrive in our markets, right? Is a place where we share ideas for you, to stay ahead, right? Regardless of, of the climb, or regardless of happenings, we share with you breakthroughs, we share with you current happenings, and we share with you things on how to, navigate the business environment. Yes, this we do every other week, fortnightly. We have sessions like this. We thought leaders like Israel come on board, to just share with us ideas that can help us thrive as business owners. Also, we are in partnership with Google to offer a Google My Business service. Google My Business service is such that anyone that has a business, can register with Google and provide to them relevant information about their businesses, location, opening periods, kind of services offered, and other details. Is such that anybody that goes on Google now to search for your business name, they get a return feed that shows those information, that you provided to Google when you register with them. This is a way to drive visibility for you as a merchant, So as it ensures your profiles and contact details, pop up the moment anybody searches for you, right? On our list again is the Flutterwave store. Our Flutterwave store is our offering to the business environment. It's a way to have or to own an e-commerce store um, without the need to be technical, without the need, to have to know how to code. You don't need to create a website. The e-commerce store, the Flutterwave store is such that you're able to accept payment from anywhere in the world without all of these, barriers to entry I mentioned before. The Flutterwave store allows you to list your products, you upload images, you set prices. In fact, you even offer discount codes, to your shoppers. And then it's such that we have integrated delivery partners that can pick up when you have orders and deliver to your customer, right? The Flutterwave store was it came about because of global COVID-19 pandemic. And we designed it so that it is so easy to use, quite easy to use. It is designed to bring businesses that are offline, especially businesses that don't have the kind of exposure, right, to on online tools with minimal hassle. You can get on Flutterwave store today and start accepting payment as long as you have your products listed, right? First, to get a Flutterwave account, that's if you don't already have one, you need to register on flutterwave.com. There's a sign up button find on our website. When you click on it, you sign up for one. And then the moment you are in on your dashboard, there's a function, right, on the left side of your dashboard where you see the store. From there, you can edit your store name. You'll be able to get your unique store URL which you can share on social media and any other channels you have available to you. The moment you do that, you can then proceed to add products, including images, sizes, quantity, weight, and for those that have discounts or for products that have discounts, you can also set up discount parameters, right? Anyone you share your Flutterwave store link with will be able to access that link, look up all of your products and decide which to pay for. They can also check out with their cards. The Flutterwave store allows you to accept payments in over 150 over 150 channels of payment. You'll be able to make your customers be able to make payments right to you, and your store displays all of the product information that you must have field, right, while setting it up, right? So benefits of Flutterwave store: you don't require a website, like we said, it is free. You're able to list all your products and services actually, descriptions, with the images, sizes, quantity, and all of that. It also sort of is an inventory management system. You're able to know what you have in stock and what you should restock, right? And then with the integrated delivery system, it's such that the moment the orders are made, payers, or rather the you as a business owner, you can decide if you want to use a delivery partner or if you have your own delivery partner. And the way the integrations are done are such that your buyers are also able to pay for the logistics services for the onward fulfillment of the orders, right? And the multiple payment options, including cards, bank transfer, SSD, and QR code. Again, not to be too overemphasizing, but it is actually very true that it's very set up. It is very easy to set up. You don't need a developer. You don't need any technical know-how. Really, it's a seamless process, right, to get on the Flutterwave store, right? So how does the transaction work? For a business owner like Lux by nature, all the customer needs to do, is get on the dashboard, right? Select any product Lux by nature offers, and then checks out. The customer then inputs, fulfillment details, the address, and all of that, and then the customer confirms the information, makes payments. When the customer is about to make this page you're looking at, is what you will see the order summary, that shows what the customer has added to his cart. You see the price point for each, and then you see the total and then what customer is expected to pay. This is the payment mode. This is what you see. Customer, then completes the payment on this page, and then the moment the successful payment is made, all parties, involved in the fulfillment of that order, the merchant, the customer, and then the logistics provider, they get notifications, right? Notification successful order, for onward fulfillment, right? So basically that is Flutterwave store. Now the Flutterwave store also helps you, right? You'll be able to view details of each transactions, right? It helps your reconciliation, right? You'll be able to see each detail, right? You'll be able to, there are refund options, the options to also manage customer chargebacks and all of that, right? You're also able to access data analytics on your customers. That's on the dashboard. It helps you to make informed and better decisions, that you can help that can help you scale your businesses, right? So yeah, that is Flutterwave. We will share with you links to all these things that I've talked about now, the Flutterwave store, how to get on the Flutterwave store, the Google My Business listing, right? And then if you have any question, please feel free, to ask, shoot your questions, and then we'll get through to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adejon. So we have come to the Q&A section now. I see that we already have questions for Israel. For all questions that are related to whether or not this is being recorded, just as a general answer, yes, it is being recorded. We'll send the recording via email. So I'm just going to skip past those questions. And I'm going to go straight into the specific questions for Israel. So Israel, first question. Someone says, as a small business, you sometimes can't afford to pay a salary to yourself. Every single coin counts. I have been in a business for a number of years building my platform and have not paid myself anything. The most difficult thing in Africa to do business is things are so fragmented, it's very difficult to do sound financial management with technologies like Flutterwave because the possibilities are so vast. So would you like to kind of answer or just speak to this?
Okay. Thanks, Wendy. And I understand where this person is coming from because the the African space doesn't make it easy for you to carry on your business. If I go to be honest with each other, yeah, there are a lot of costs you have to incur by yourself. You have to buy your own lights, buy your own security, find your own way to transport your goods. There are a lot of things that people tend to enjoy in more developed parts of the world that you have to do for yourself in Africa. But if you're going to the point of paying yourself, when I mean paying yourself, what that means is you need to look at what are your monthly expenses as a person, separate from the business. And then you need to be brutally honest with yourself. How much of that cost you need to cut off? That's the part of you being stingy with yourself comes in. So let's say in a particular month, you typically spend on, apart from taking care of your monthly needs, you also have expenses for maybe Friday TGIF. You have plans for events you need to go to that will have you incur some expense. You have people that you give money to, family, friends, different other commitment as well. You need to list all these things down and then ask yourself genuinely, can your business sustain this lifestyle? If your business cannot sustain that lifestyle, it is very important that you cut off so many things from it and then go back to the essentials. So whatever you need to maintain to meet your basic monthly needs, that will be important. All those other things about if other people's activities, it has to be reduced. And the truth is, like you said, it's very tough, doing business. That's just honest truth. But if we are consistent with it, like I said, we're consistent with it, and you said you've been doing business for some years. If you've continued to do that business for that long, I mean, it shows that you are doing something right. You just need to sit down and ask yourself, what has been driving your business forward for these years that you've been carrying it on? What are the things you've been doing that you need to continue to do? What are the things from your experience that you've documented that you've done wrong that you need to avoid in the future? These are the kind of questions you need to sit down and ask yourself. And again, just to say it again, you need to look at your monthly expenses. What are those things, your personal monthly expenses now? What are those things that you need to do away with? Paying yourself doesn't mean that you give yourself one huge sum of money to be spent if your business can't support it. It just means that looking at your monthly expenses, what are the things you need to cut away? What are the things that are essential for you to keep? Yeah, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Israel. Okay, next question is well, this is an interesting question. Hi, Israel. Do you run a business yourself? Can you tell us about the journey, the first 3 years, and managing finances, highs and lows?
Yeah, this thing reminds me of what they say about if you want to market something to our brothers up north, they'll ask you, have you used it before? If you've not used it before, then why are you marketing it? I've actually I've been involved in a number of businesses, and as with many of you as well, I failed miserably in many of them. That's just part of the experience. What I did anytime I start a venture, I'm very intentional and deliberate. I write down all my experiences, everything my experiences, from how much I'm putting in on a monthly basis, what has the experience been, and because I'm also not I'm an employee somewhere as well, it limits the number of time I have to market those products or those services. So what I've done over time is to find business partners that we can work together, to share that burden, because I can't leave my employer's business and be doing my business and expect my employer to pay me very well. I will get sacked after if they don't sack me, I need to go and meet them. Are you guys nothing and not doing your business? So I've been involved in a number of businesses. If I can, I think there have been 3 major businesses that I've started, the past 6 years. And out of those ones that I mentioned, it's only one of them that still survives till today, But thankfully, that one that survives is doing okay, What my experience has been is that, again, you just need to be brutally honest with yourself. You need to be totally honest with yourself. There are times that we start a business without counting the cost very well. And then we get to that business after 5 or 6 months, we see that we can't maintain what that business needs to survive anymore. At that point, you then need to ask yourself genuinely, do I have access to finance that will help me push this business forward? Or is it something I want to look into, maybe partner with somebody else, or just do something else entirely? Again, it takes you to be sincerely honest with yourself to know if this is working or if it's not working. What has also worked for me is finding the right partners. It's very important. There's some businesses that I was involved in that, benefit of hindsight, I wouldn't have joined that joint venture because my business partners weren't experienced enough to do what they said they can do. If I'd done a bit of due diligence, ask around about those people, I wouldn't have entered into business venture with them because I would have seen that they don't have experience for what they want to do, and it's just ideas that they have. It's good to have ideas, but at the same time, if you're going to put a lot of money into an idea, you need that idea to have been tested elsewhere before, see how it has worked in other places, and then be able to domesticate it to see how that idea work in this particular setting that I am in. The one that okay, without giving too much detail, because this is a Flutterwave platform, the one business that I told you that is surviving up to today is a transit business. I have a business partner again for this one because again I'm an employee somewhere. I can't leave Flutterwave's business and start running around. Let me help you transport your goods. But I have a business partner that does that part for me. What we then do is meet periodically, share ideas, what we can do better, how is the business going. People need to probably meet over the weekend to talk to them about how we can get funds and all that. So that particular one that worked, from experience, what I see is that I have the right business partner. My business partner, that same business in some form was being carried on by his own dad. So he doesn't want to stay under the shadow of his dad forever. So he then started to do his own transit business as well, which, I mean, we've been at it since 2018. This is our third year now, and we are beginning to see positive signs. I mean, the first 2 years were, I won't lie to you, the first 2 years were very rough. A lot of our money went into it, trying to market, trying to talk to these people, meeting different investors and all that to try to give us funds, but consistency, because it was also, I know that the market we have right now needs transit business. The African market right now needs transit business because we still need to be able to move your goods from one location to another. And sometimes it's more efficient to outsource that than to do it yourself, So, and we've seen the model of his own dad. What is that did? How is that? What that part I said you need to see as that business idea being replicated elsewhere. How did he work there? So what we then did was to dimension what is that has done well, what is that didn't do very well, and let's see how we can improve on that. And thankfully, we've been knocking on a lot of doors for a year too, because you also need funds to also do these things. There's so much that your own money can carry you. Knocking on many doors, try to do things ourselves. Late 2020, we were able to, speak to a lot more people that then saw the sense in what we're trying to say, because we've been keeping records. That's part of the keeping record that I said. We've kept records of our expenses, of our income, and we're able to show people this is the potential in this business. This is what we think that we can do. This is how much of the market is already covered, is already being serviced. This is what we can do to add value to that. We're able to then speak to that and show it to them. And then thankfully, we got some funding that then we were able to project our business to the next level, And that's me being honest with you. I've done a couple that didn't work, but this one worked because, again, I was brutally honest. I had to sit down with my business partner. This idea that we have, has it worked elsewhere before? If it hasn't worked, if it has worked elsewhere, what do they do to make it work, and how can we domesticate it? Yeah.
Thank you, Israel. So next question is, it is one person that is asking two questions. So I'll just ask, I'll read both. What is the percentage for paying self? What is the payment percentage for paying self? And then, is it advisable to raise capital from one business to finance another business that doesn't make so much income?
For the first question, there is no particular percentage to pay yourself. Again, it just comes to you being brutally honest with yourself about your monthly expenses. Which ones are frivolous, that you're just trying to keep up with the Joneses, like they say, and which ones are necessary for you to stay alive. It's those expenses that you require to stay alive that you need to keep putting money into. The other ones that are good to have, you may need to cut some of them. If you look at, I know I have both. I have audience from different religious background, like I can see from the name. But if you want to borrow a leaf from the Holy Book, there's a part in the Holy Book that says that talks about whatever money you have, a first part of it must go to yourself to satisfy yourself. I'm not going into too much detail, but there's a particular 10% that was said in the Holy Book that belongs to you, that you need to first satisfy with yourself, and then put the rest into other things, But that's a way you can do it. You can use that approach. But what I typically do is look at what are the things that I need to essentially survive, and stick to that. The rest can, after I've done my business for a number of years and I'm making good profit, I can start talking about other things. But for now, all I need is to survive, and whatever percentage helps you do that is good. So the second question, I wouldn't advise running multiple. If you are starting, if you are a small business, I wouldn't really advise having multiple products, except you can honestly keep different financial books for each product. If you are selling more than one product, you need to have separation of books. So this product A, how much expenses I'm incurring, this how much income I'm making. Product B, how much expenses, how much income, like that. You need to keep separate records, and you need to ordinarily ask yourself. Sometimes you have biases for certain products that we sell more than others, but it's not about you. It's about what the market wants. So it might be that particular product that you don't really like, that market is wants. What is making you money? Do you care where the money is coming from? No. So you need to focus more attention on the ones. If you have limited resource, like many of us do, you need to focus on the product that you're selling that is giving you the most money. Except you've done enough analysis to find out that there's a particular product that you are selling that is not necessarily giving you much now, but that's a big potential. And the only way you can find out if it has a big potential is if you've done enough research about that product and able to dimension it, domesticate it to your environment. Because again, you can have a fantastic product, but if you're not selling to the right audience, that product will not move. So I wouldn't advise you moving money from one product that is doing well to another one that's not doing well, especially for a certain business. It's very risky because even that one that you think is doing well would have some down times at some point. So I would say focus your energy on the ones that is doing well and try to build that. When you build it to a very good level, you can then diversify into some other things. And I mean, without knowing what anybody does, if you look at a growing economy, we are usually a consumer-based market, consumer-based economy. What that means is that fast-moving consumer goods always sell well in developing world. Fast-moving consumer goods always move very, very fast. So if you are looking for a very good business idea, look at that area that you're living in. What do people consume most there? If you set those things, at the minimum, should be able to break even and then make some small profit. It could be opening a small shawarma joint. It could be opening a small restaurant somewhere. I mean, it could be helping people go to the market. Because because of right now, there is the pandemic, people are scared of going to the market. It could be you taking that risk to help people go and buy. And you may not even have to go to the market yourself. You can get those orders and get somebody else to go to the market for you, pay that person, and then you make your own commission out of it. So you need to be able to look at what the market needs at that particular point. And because we are a consumption-based economy, we will still necessarily need to buy those basic things. So if you are selling those things, there is high likelihood that it will sell, it will move. We just need to find out, am I targeting the right market? Yeah.
Thank you, Israel. So next question is, someone is asking that we'd like to know the comprehensive list of Flutterwave product offerings. So I'm going to try as much as possible. We only have 10 minutes to the end of the webinar. So I'm going to be as quick as possible to try and answer this question. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all questions. Any additional questions that come in, I will not be able to get to them because we have questions that already need to be answered. So in terms of Flutterwave product offerings, so Flutterwave we're a payments technology company. We enable businesses and individuals and banks to payments at literally every stage of their growth. But not only that, we also enable you to be able to send payments out as well. So the terms for this, the term or technical terms are collections and payouts. So as a business, you want to receive money from your customers, or as an individual, you want to receive money. Maybe you're a freelancer, you want to receive money from your customers. And then you also want to send money out to people as well, which is what we call payouts. And so we enable people to receive money, and you can do so we have invoicing on Flutterwave. We have Flutterwave Store, which Adesina spoke about, which is an e-commerce platform that you don't have to think about coding or technical expertise. It's just an e-commerce storefront that you can create on your Flutterwave dashboard. And we also have checkouts, Flutterwave checkouts, which can be integrated on your own website. So that means that if you're looking for a payment gateway, which is Flutterwave, you can integrate it on your own website, on your own platform, and receive international and local payments that way. And then we have payment links, which is a great tool for receiving payments if you don't have a website or a platform. Your customer just needs to click the link that you send them from the dashboard, click the link, make payments, Flutterwave checkout to pop up. They can pay you through mobile money, USSD, pay with bank transfer, depending on the country that they're in, and they can pay you with their card, their bank card, a debit card or credit card as well. Those are the payment options and kind of the features and products that we have available on Flutterwave for business, but we also have a retail product called Barter by Flutterwave. And I don't want to overwhelm us with information, but Barter by Flutterwave is a retail product that allows people to send and receive international payments and local payments as well through barter. So you can, if your friend is in Ghana, you can send them money through barter and they will receive money and they can use the money and send it to their bank accounts. And then it allows people to create virtual cards as well. I wrote it down so I don't forget the main high points, but really Flutterwave is an all-in-one business solution. We allow people to, you can also integrate Flutterwave with, the popular business management apps like QuickBooks and Zoho and all of that so that you can manage your business kind of totally through Flutterwave. We'll do another session where we go into a lot more detail about this, but I just wanted to answer that question. I hope I have answered it properly. Okay, so Israel, next question is, someone is asking, what is the ideal wage to revenue ratio, which is pretty much in line with the other question that was asked, or wage to gross profits ratio? And then kind of in line with that, someone asked a question about angel investments. Oh yes, please, is seeking in for angel investors really a healthy path in financing a startup? So those two questions I think are related and you can answer them when you're ready.
Yeah, sorry, Wendy, my network went off briefly. If you can just let me repeat the first question.
Okay, first question is, what is the ideal wage to revenue ratio or wage to gross profit ratio? And then the other question is seeking angel investors really a healthy path in financing a startup? I think those are the last questions that we can take because we only have 6 minutes until the end of the webinar.
Okay, the first question is about the wage to profit ratio.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. Like I said earlier, there is no specific ratio, like a standard practice anywhere. It's just for you to again look at what your expenses are and the things that you need to keep, the things you need to do away with. If what you need, if you're really dedicated to growing your business, what you need is to be able to live well, decently, given your expenses. Look at the expenses that are critical for you to survive. Keep those ones, keep supporting those ones, and other things we need to waive them or reduce the amount you spend on them. It's very critical for us to be honest with ourselves and do that search and do that check by ourselves to know that we are not, what we call lifestyle is not just frivolous items that we just want to do. There are things that are really essential for us. Like for instance, paying your light bills is very essential. Paying your children's school fees, all those are very essential. Maybe dry cleaning up your clothes, all those things are very essential. But if we then extend that to other things like having a good time every weekend, hanging out, going to events and all that, those are not essential. We can then look at cutting down on those ones and just keeping our expenses very, very lean as much as possible. Sorry, Wendy, I've forgotten the second question. Sorry.
Angel investors, is seeking angel investors.
Oh, yeah.
Is seeking for angel investors really a healthy path in financing a startup?
Yeah. Well, for startups, you don't really have much of a choice. If they are very expensive to keep, that's just your next truth, because they will ask for a huge chunk of your capital, of your shares, and their demands are very, very high. But for a startup, you may not really have much choice if you really want to fund the business. Typically, excuse me, small businesses, if you can do it, probably look for more of family and business. Excuse me, please. Look more for family and friends. They're able to give you short-term to medium-term loan that you can pay back at some future time. If you can't have that, then whatever means you can get the funds, you have to get it, because banks are not necessarily open except for maybe maybe microfinance banks. Most banks don't typically want to give loans to SMEs because, like I said, the stories you are telling them, they've heard it a million times over. And from the experience, they don't usually get to have their money back, you know. So, even the microfinance banks that will give you the loan as well, their interest rates are usually cutthroat, you know, very, very high interest rates, you know, before that they will give you. But if you can get angel investors that can give you some funds, why not? Give it a try. What all you just need to do is once you collect that fund, you know that there is no playing around anymore. There is no playing around because those guys will be on your neck. They'll be on your neck to ensure that the business runs very well. Which then goes back to again, what do you spend on? What are the items you spend on a monthly basis? What are the ones that are essential for your own survival? What are the ones that are essential for the survival of the business? All other things are good to have that you can trade with.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Israel. So I think we have officially come to the end of the webinar. I'm not sure if there's any question that we can because we have like 1 minute. Somebody has asked a question that we already did. This person is asking about raising poultry. We already answered. I've been raising poultry for the past 8 years and I've been plowing back funds from my other family to the poultry. So my question is it advisable to raise capital from one business to finance another business? Israel, I know you've answered this before. If you can just reiterate and then we'll end with this. Can you hear me?
sorry,
I'm not sure if
my
this is
network
my.
is breaking. Can
Oh,
you
I was
repeat
saying
the question?
the
No, it's
question
my
is.
it's from my end. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have been raising poultry for the past 8 years and have been plowing back funds from my other farm into the poultry. So my question is this advisable to raise capital from one business to finance another business? So you can just answer this question and then we'll round up with this.
Okay. Again, if a startup business, like I said, it's very good for you to focus on one business. Let one business grow well first before you diversify funds or move funds into other ventures. I wouldn't advise moving funds from a business that is doing well to another one that is just starting. Except the one that is doing well, you don't need to a point where the income is steady. The income there is steady, and um, you know that you can do away with lesser inflow for that business. I would rather you, if that business that is doing well, if it's really doing well, I'd rather you inject money into that same business, expand your reach. If you are servicing 2 streets or 3 streets before, look at you can service 6 streets. If you're servicing a local government, look at how you can service three or four local governments. That's a better way for me. Once that business grows to a very comfortable level, you can then start looking at other things you can do. Except you've done enough research on this new venture that you want to start. You've done enough research and you're honest with yourself, and you know that there is a high potential for it as well. If you think there is a high potential for it as well, then you might give it a try. But don't then do it at the detriment of the business that's already doing well. There is a need for us to also have that in mind as well.
Thank you very much, Israel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We have unfortunately come to the end. We couldn't get to all questions, but if you have any questions, inquiries, concerns, any product-related questions as well, please email hi@flutterwavego.com or send a direct message to us on Twitter. Our handle is @the Flutterwave in front of it. And then our support page is FLW Support. And we'll be happy to respond to you, or we'll pass you on to the right person within the team that can answer your questions or help you with any issues that you are having.